This is Baelor Breakspear. His side just won the trial. Justice was served. He's on his feet talking, making plans for the future. Then they pull his helmet off, and the back of his skull is gone. He was already dead. He just didn't know it yet. His last conscious act on this earth wasn't rage, wasn't fear, it was accepting Dunk into his service. His final moment was kindness. Now I know what you're thinking. Nothing hits harder than the Red Wedding. But I'm going to show you why I think differently. Because the Red Wedding gives you something Baelor's death doesn't. And that difference is what makes this worse. The Red Wedding works because someone is guilty. Walder Frey broke guest right. Rose Bolton slid the knife in. Tywin bankrolled the whole thing. Your brain gets a villain, and a villain gives you something to do with your pain. You can hate. You can want revenge. And eventually you get it. The Freys are slaughtered. The Boltons fall. The loop closes. Baelor's death gives you no loop. Because here's what actually happened. Every single person in that trial did the right thing. Dunk defended the innocent. Baelor stood for justice. Maekar protected his son. These aren't flawed decisions. These aren't mistakes dressed up as nobility. These are genuinely correct moral choices, and the universe punished all of them anyway. That's what our brain can't process. When Ned Stark dies, there's a lesson. He was too trusting for King's Landing. When Robb dies, there's a cause. He broke his vow to the Freys. Your brain can file those away. Tragic but logical. What do you file Baelor's death under? He shouldn't have fought for justice? He should have let the innocent man die? There's no lesson. There's no takeaway. There's just the fact that the best man in the trial is the one who didn't walk out of it. Not because he made a mistake, but because he was the only one good enough to be there in the first place. Bertie Carvel, who plays Baelor, nailed this in an interview. He said, "You don't come out of the womb predetermined to be good, bad, or ugly. Goodness is as goodness does." That's the cruelest insight about this death. Baelor wasn't fated to die, he chose to be good in that moment. And that specific choice, not destiny, not prophecy, just a man deciding to do the right thing, is what killed him. The Red Wedding makes you scream at the screen. Baelor's death makes you sit in silence. And silence is always heavier than noise. If this kind of deep dive is what you come to YouTube for, I'd appreciate it if you hit subscribe. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you gets me closer. Here's what elevates this from a sad death to a civilizational disaster. Baelor wasn't just a good man. He was a good Targaryen. And if you understand the world of Game of Thrones, you know how impossibly rare that is. Think about the Targaryens we've seen. Aerys burned people alive for entertainment. Viserys begged and threatened his way across Essos. Aerion, Baelor's own nephew, tortured a puppeteer for fun, and later drank wildfire because he thought it would turn him into a dragon. Rhaenyra and Aegon tore the realm apart fighting over a chair. The Targaryen default setting is fire, destruction, madness, entitlement. Baelor was the exception. Not the soft exception, not the weak exception. He won the name Breakspear at 17 by defeating Demon Blackfyre in the lists. He and Maekar crushed the Blackfyre Rebellion together, the hammer and the anvil. He served as Hand of the King. He wasn't kind because he was passive. He was kind because he was strong enough to choose it, and he carried a philosophy that could have reshaped the realm. In small council meetings, Baelor argued for clemency toward honorable foes. His logic was precise. If a defeated enemy knows he'll be pardoned, he'll lay down his sword. If he thinks he'll be killed anyway, he'll fight to the death and take more innocents with him. That's not naivety, that's strategic mercy. That's the kind of thinking that ends cycles of rebellion instead of feeding them. Bloodraven, the other powerful voice on the council, believed the opposite. Crush rebels, make examples, rule through fear and surveillance. And after Baelor dies, guess whose philosophy wins? Bloodraven's. For decades, the paranoia, the tyranny, the slow rot of Targaryen legitimacy, it all traces back to the moment the one man who offered a different path was taken off the board. George R.R. Martin said it himself. Baelor's death was the incident that changed the course of Westeros history. He would have been a great king. When he died at Ashford, a better version of Westeros died with him. Now let's talk about another angle of this tragic story. Maekar. Everyone focuses on Baelor, the noble prince who died too soon. But the real ongoing tragedy belongs to the man who killed him. Because Maekar has to wake up every day knowing he's the reason the realm lost its best hope. And he didn't even mean to do it. Sam Spruill, who plays Maekar, said something revealing in an interview. He said, "There is that deep, deep desire to be number one in Maekar that might be realized by the death of his brother. So all the guilt or all the sadness or all the grief he feels is kind of bracketed by this realization that this means he's next in line to the throne." That's devastating. Not because Maekar wanted his brother dead. He didn't. But because somewhere in the wreckage of his grief, there's a part of him that knows he benefits. And he can never unknow that. Every time he feels the weight of the crown, every time someone calls him Your Grace, there's a whisper underneath. You're only here because you killed your own brother. The chronicles say Maekar marked the anniversary of Baelor's death every single year until his own. He exiled Arion onto the sun he tried, to protect, to the free cities. He gave Dunk, a hedge knight, a position in his household to mentor Egg. These aren't political moves. These are the actions of a man trying to atone for something that can't be atoned for. And think about what Baelor did to him in his final moments. Carvel revealed that Baelor's last look at Maekar carried no blame. Only fondness, almost pride. Like two brothers who used to wrestle as boys and one is acknowledging the other's strength one final time. That's not mercy. That's worse than mercy. Because if Baelor had been angry, if he'd cursed Maekar with his dying breath, Maekar could tell himself his brother hated him. He could turn grief into resentment. He could harden. Instead, Baelor forgave him. Which means Maekar has to carry not just the guilt of killing his brother, but the knowledge that his brother loved him while he did it. Dunk carries it too. He tells Maekar, "You swung the mace, my lord, but it was for me Prince Baelor died. So I killed him too, as much as you." Two men, both believing it's their fault. Neither wrong, neither right, just broken. The Red Wedding produced villains. Baelor's death produced ghosts, people who survived but never fully came back. The Red Wedding destroyed a house. The Starks lost their king, their army, their hold on the North. But the Starks came back. The North remembered. Baelor's death destroyed a dynasty. And nobody came back from that. I mean, just take a look at the chain. Baelor dies. His sons Valar and Mataris become heirs. Months later, the Great Spring Sickness wipes them out along with King Daeron. The entire line of the wisest Targaryen, gone. The crown passes through increasingly unstable hands. Aerys I, a king so disinterested he let Bloodraven run the realm into paranoia. Then Maekar, a capable warrior haunted by kinslaying. Then Egg, Aegon V, who spends his entire reign trying to be the king Baelor would have been. And Egg fails. Not because he's bad, but because the world Baelor could have shaped no longer exists. The lords resist reform. The nobles hoard power. And Egg's desperation to restore Targaryen greatness leads him to Summerhall, where he dies trying to hatch dragons from stone. Fire consumes him, his son, and the dream of a better Targaryen future. From Summerhall's ashes, the line stumbles forward to Aerys II, the Mad King. Well, we all know how well that turned out. One accidental mace swing at a tournament nobody should have died in. And 100 years later, the entire dynasty collapses. The Red Wedding was a wound. Deep, bloody, horrifying, but a wound. Baelor's death was a crack in the foundation, invisible at first, and then everything built on top of it came crashing down. The Red Wedding gave you villains to punish and a story that eventually found justice. Baelor's death gave you two broken men, a shattered dynasty, and a question with no answer. What happens when everyone? Does the right thing and the worst possible thing happens anyway? That's not a plot twist, that's grief. The kind with no enemy and no ending, and that's why this death hits harder than the Red Wedding. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. See you next time.